Hey Lou, it's me. Um, I thought I might show you guys something different this week because I'm visiting my sister in Luxembourg City, and it's kind of beautiful actually. By the way, you might be hearing an echo because my tripod is broken, so I'm using a what do you call it? Here, I'll show you. Actually, let's see. There's a weird grating with a fun little statue in there. Um, but there's a little bit of an echo coming, so you might hear an echo. Um, Dude's missing his arms. Dude apparently was part of the old um, building wall fortifications here at some point. Probably fell off, or he was part of the church. Who knows? You never know where there's like weird statues come from. Europe's kind of full of that stuff. You go into like old buildings that they're kind of like restored. For instance, like in Metz, there's the Porte d'Allemand, the German gate, the gate of the Germans, where the Germans would come into the city, and there's all these old pieces of the old fortifications that fell off. All of these cool statues and mason work and stuff. And actually, I just found out in a couple of weeks I'm going to be going to Strasbourg, which is also a really pretty city with lots of ruins, so I'll make a video there for you all too. Anyway, how are you? I'm sleepy. Ever since the time change, this is the first year this has ever happened, but ever since the time change, I wake up like an hour before the sun. I have no trouble sleeping. I just fall asleep immediately. But no matter what time I wake up an hour, or no matter what time I go to sleep, there we go. I wake up an hour and a half before the sun rises. And it's good. I just haven't really settled into this pattern yet. Or any of the other crazy patterns that we are in right now in this fun, humbling empire. To be honest, right now, I'm feeling a little sad. A little sad about, I don't know, it's a melancholy. It's this city. Yeah, let me pick you up. And we can look at it some more there. Yeah, you see that? It's kind of cool. It's kind of gorgeous. The city has lasted a very long time. Very long time. It was able to do so because of its kind of hidden place. It's kind of partially on several plateaus cut through with a gorge. I have done videos for you folks on that gorge before, or in that gorge. And of course the city was built magically, according to the stories by Melusine, or with the help of Melusine, who is probably also the goddess Ritona, who is the Treveri goddess of river crossings, which, by the way, Ritona, two things. One, that's the name of a new organization we just founded this week, which is a new nonprofit that's going to kind of run Gods and Radicals Press because the American one doesn't exist any longer. So there's a new one. Basically, nothing's going to really change. We're just going to be cooler and hopefully get some more money going. But we decided to name the new nonprofit organization Ritona because she was the goddess here. And I had decided that, and then and I told her, I had actually promised Melusine to name it after her. There was already a Melusine press, so I couldn't do that. And then I stumbled upon Ritona, and I was like, I think that's Melusine. Melusine being one of the Rhine daughters, etc., one of the spirits that live in the rivers. All of the rivers here, as I've constantly mentioned, eventually go into the Rhine. So the other fun thing, turns out Ritona comes from the same Indo-European root that my name comes from, reed. The reed, Ritona, and reed means river crossing. I don't know if I ever told you that or not, but yeah, when I discovered that, I was like, oh, that dream I had like 20, what was that? Almost 20 years ago. Yeah, 20 years ago. 20 years ago. Now it makes sense. So, but yeah, so the city was built with the help of, let's say, consent of Melusine, who was probably Ritona, It's a gorgeous city, and these valleys and the stonework around it help protect it from invaders, etc. I showed you a lot of the old fortifications. What you're looking at, right? There. It's part of the train tracks. It's not actually all that ancient. I think it's only 200 years old. Funny to say something's, it's not old. It's only 200. Then other parts. Sorry about my finger. Let's see. Can I show you a little bit better there? Let's pick you up. Oh, it's not working, but can't really see it. But all that stuff there, that's very old fortifications. So sorry about my camera problems here. Try this again. Unusual. You see that little light? I don't know how to show you. That's really cool. Anyway, so I was saying I was feeling a bit melancholy. Well, two reasons. First of all, I guess it was a year plus 7 days that I first came here for good. By which I mean I left Rennes. Fled Rennes because I was in an awful relationship that was really abusive. And I went to go stay with my sister for a little bit, which then led to me meeting the most amazing man I've ever met in my entire life. And we're still together. It's been more than 10 and a half months. So there's a wistfulness. It was about this time last year that I was walking around crying by the river. It's down there. Can't see it so well. But also the melancholy that I've got right now is it's COVID. You know, you hear that? I just pronounced it French. COVID, which is feminine, by the way. La COVID, because diseases are feminine in French. But the city last year, this time, full of people everywhere, because it's beautiful. It looks like a fairy tale here. It's pretty empty. Of course, there's no tourism, and most people are obeying the laws and staying in as much as they can. You know, you're allowed to travel, to go walk around, to go shop, etc. But you're supposed to go shop alone. Don't make it a family outing. People from other countries are coming into Luxembourg in order to do their shopping because it's freer here. Oh, that plane, sorry. Turns out when you shush a plane, they don't quiet. So it's been almost a year now since this happened. 9 months, I think, is when, around February was when they started being like, COVID's a big, huge thing. Although, I guess the anniversary of COVID actually kind of starting to hit people's bloodstreams was early December, late November. Turns out they found, traces of COVID antibodies in Americans from December. So it's been around a lot longer than the big confinements. The governments were a little slow on it. But so we're about a year into this pandemic, as it were, that supposedly is about to get fixed because there's a big, corporation that made a vaccine, or several corporations that made vaccines that's going to save the world. But even if that does mean that no one gets COVID anymore, we all kind of know that these problems aren't going away. A year without massive hyper-capitalist economic activity is not going to fix anything. Well, it'll fix the planet a little bit, but we're not going to recover from that. Luxembourg, France, Germany, none of those countries in Europe are going to recover from it. And the United States, of course, where they didn't really shut down anything, isn't going to recover from it either. People lost jobs, lots of people died, lots of people got sick, and things changed in the meantime. The internet is only like 30, 40 years old, in its, original existence, but, social media is less than 20 years old. Facebook, MySpace, all of those. I think those started in 2004, 2003, something like that. We haven't had enough time to really kind of understand how that has changed the way we think, or even how it's changed our bodies. And by bodies, I mean, what's it been like for the last, I'd say, 10, 12 years of everyone having smartphones to constantly be doing this with their necks all the time. What's it like? What's it changed in us to every single time we are a little bored or distracted, or something in our pocket just beeps, we take it out and we look at it. What has that changed of our attention spans? The way we hold our bodies, the way we think about our bodies. Also, this is really interesting to me. Like, how has it changed the way we see ourselves, the way we see what it's like to be human? I was thinking, as I was reading some kind of like research and stuff, before the internet was a thing, before social media was a thing, when people talked about not really feeling like they were male or female, like, what we now call non-binary, they used a lot of other metaphors, and one of the ones that they tended to use was, what you see the ancient alchemists used in Europe and in the Arab world, and also very similar to a lot of Eastern conceptions. The idea that we are both male and female at the same time, and we have both of those energies kind of like flowing through us, and that so you can be, a male, man, whatever, but also have lots of feminine aspects. And that didn't change the fact that you were male. It just meant that you were embodying a lot of the female, a lot of the sacred feminine, etc. Or, on the other hand, you could be a woman, born woman, etc., and be embodying lots of masculine things. And, we had other words like, if you were a lesbian, you were a butch lesbian or a butch dyke, if you were a gay guy who was like really effeminate, you might be a queen, and all of that's kind of replaced, or been replaced lately, by the idea of non-binaryism, which is a new idea, and it's an interesting idea. But it's only caught on because of the way everything catches on in the internet. And that's just like one kind of neutral thing. That's like, we don't know what the effects of that are, like in the way that we see ourselves in the next 20 or 30 years. Lots of people right now find it very liberating. Maybe later on they'll just say, it wasn't so liberating, here's another term. Or maybe people will find it wasn't liberating enough, in the same way that, being gay was not enough for people who now are like, no, I'm queer. So, things kind of change, but they're changing more rapidly. And they're changing more rapidly because of the internet. Now, it started talking about this melancholy that I feel about looking down here, because for the last year, people in Europe especially, but lots of people in the United States too, have now spent the majority of their social interactions online. Lots of people are working from home who never worked from home. I've been working out of home for the last 7 years. As a writer, you do that. As a publisher, I've done that. I've never had an office. But, No, that didn't work either. Sorry, ambulance. But, so that's just been like 9 months of this really intense change where we haven't had time to kind of feel or know or have any idea what that's done to us. There's some people who might say, oh, well, it's a good thing, or humans are resilient or whatever, but, one thinks, my nephews are both young, they've been, a lot of this year they had to do, homeschooling, teleschooling or whatever. During Thanksgiving dinner, one of my nephews said, I'm so thankful that we can go back to school, because he missed seeing other kids. Socializing is kind of a nice thing, and lots of us have been missing that for the last 9 months. I have. I've seen my man, I've seen a couple of friends, my family. But that melancholy I feel, which is kind of a fatigue, it's kind of a sadness, it's kind of this numb, dull ache inside of me is, God, I miss humans, And we don't know what this has done to us yet. and we won't find out for a while. Just like, I remember I had a friend who actually said, we haven't even had time to figure out what the printing press has done to humanity. If you look at the history of like how long humans have been around versus the printing press, it's a really tiny, short thing. And I think she was right on that. And then you look at the internet, it's only been a few decades. We haven't had nearly enough time, much less time than we did with the printing press, to see how this has changed us. Not all changes are bad, but whenever something changes, something is lost. New things kill off old things. Old things die, get replaced. But this isn't always good. Let's look at the city again. Right, so there's old, and then new, and then the new cars kind of going through. Train. I love that train. I've taken that train before. It's a fun train. I like trains. The mix of the new and the old here, it works. It's like a lot of places in Europe. There's enough old to remind you that another world existed before this one. That there was another way of doing things before this one. If you live in America, it's not really so much the case. And it's becoming less and less so here in Europe as well. There are little tourist cities that have medieval stuff. People go specifically there because there's still medieval stuff. But in many other cases, a lot of the old gets replaced, covered, crushed, or kind of put behind little random grates. He's got really nice legs. So it gets replaced, covered up, so you can't actually see what was before. So all you have is the new. And memory is important. I'm looking at the river. I wish I could show you. I'm gonna try. And oh no, there's no way. It's like where my finger is covering. There's a little river there. I love that river. Like I said, that river goes into the Rhine, like all of the other ones. It's a Rhine daughter. Looking at that, like for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, and actually more than that, thousands. People have used that river. People used to say prayers to the spirit of that river. And you can still see, there's a shrine, I think I've mentioned. There was a shrine, a sacred well, that's been covered over by the church. They actually walled it over so that, because so many people kept going to the sacred spring and saying prayers to the goddess there instead of to God. So the Catholic Church covered stuff, and then capitalism covers it even more. I don't really have a point here, I guess, except maybe try to hold on to what happened, what life was like, what it felt like to be around humans, what it felt like to be human before COVID. I don't just mean the disease, but the way we all kind of had to start living for the last 9 months. It might be useful to think of it as kind of before the war. And here, the silence feels like, it's wartime. Because I feel like we're really, really, really going to want to remember. And there may even be massive differences in the way humans who do remember and humans who don't remember, which would be the vast majority of people, interact with each other soon. And so on to those memories. I hope you're well. Thank you for all of your support. I'll make you another video probably in the next day or two, because there's so much pretty stuff here. And so I'll show you some more of it. Love you all. Be well. Bye.